Hi there, and welcome to The Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. And today we're going to make one of my absolute most favorite bread recipes. It is an Irish soda bread, and we're going to do it right in the Ninja Foodi. So the first thing you want to do is get your Ninja Foodi preheated. So we're going to turn it on, hit the bake roast function, take the temperature to 350 and hit the start button. 15 minutes is fine because we'll be done whipping up this bread by then, and then we'll get it in the Ninja Foodi to bake. So the Irish soda bread is not a yeast bread, so it's like a quick bread. So you can throw it together really fast, no need to let it rise, but it does have a long bake time. So you want to plan ahead for that because it's going to bake for at least 40 minutes and then actually sit in the hot Ninja Foodi for another 20 minutes, okay? All right, so let's get started with the ingredients. I have started out here with 4 cups of all-purpose white flour. I also have about 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour over here because we sometimes will need some more to add in, and that depends greatly on the weather, believe it or not. The other day I made the recipe and we were in the middle of severe downpours of rain and I needed to use almost 6 cups. And then earlier today I tested the recipe and I started with 5 cups and it was too dry. So always start with the 4 cups and add more as you need. Okay. So first we're going to add in 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of caraway seeds, and I would not omit those. They really add a great flavor. And my mom says 1 heaping teaspoon, I say 1 1/4 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. That is a great flavor for the bread. And also 1 teaspoon of fine grind sea salt. I almost forgot 1/2 cup of brown sugar. So let's get those dry ingredients just sort of blended together. And then we'll add in our wet ingredients, which is 2 cups of buttermilk and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And in the buttermilk, I have 1 cup of golden raisins that have been soaking for about 15 to 20 minutes. You can soak them up to 30 minutes, but don't soak them any longer than that or they will absorb too much of the buttermilk and then you will have a drier bread. If that happens and you notice that your bread is dry, just add in some more buttermilk. If you run out of buttermilk or you just don't have any and you have milk and you have either lemon juice or vinegar, you can make your own buttermilk and it's really easy. To every cup of milk, add in 1 teaspoon of either lemon juice or a vinegar and you'll be good to go. Let it curdle a little bit and it will become buttermilk. All right, so let's add in our vanilla and let's add in our buttermilk with those raisins. Now this will be a sticky dough, okay? So don't be alarmed. You may think, oh my gosh, this is too sticky. It is a very sticky dough at first. And that's why we want to have that flour over here in case we need to add some more in. So just mix these ingredients up. Kind of turn them around a little bit with your spatula, or you could always use your hands, which I think I'm about to do here. So we want it to be sort of like a loose ball before we put it onto our pastry mat, which I'm using, or you could use a cutting board or any clean surface actually will work. You just want to put a little flour down first. All right, that's looking pretty good. Let's scrape some of this off. Then I'm gonna just get in here with my hands and kind of mix it up the rest of the way. I think it'll go a little faster, make it a little bit easier. Sometimes you just can't beat your hands for these kind of things. They are gonna get dirty and they are gonna get sticky. And that's kind of funny because I love making bread and I love working with food, but I don't like food on my hands too much. So this is kind of a weird thing for me, especially when it's like sticky. But anyway, it does work the best. Your hands are one of the best tools you have in the kitchen. That and a sharp knife. All right. Well, that's looking good. I think it's time to put it out on our mat and add some more flour. So what I'm going to do is just scrape all of this dough off of my fingers and give my hands a quick wash. Okay, great. So this is what the dough is gonna look like. It's really loose and it is really sticky, okay? And that is normal, that's perfectly normal. So I'm gonna put about 1/4 of a cup of flour down, because I can already tell by the way that dough feels that I'm definitely gonna need the extra flour. Then just sort of pat your hands in it, and that's gonna help prevent the dough from sticking to your hands. Then just go ahead and dump it out and get out as much of that flour that's at the bottom as you can. All right, and so what we're gonna do is a quick knead. Now this is not gonna take any time at all. A couple of minutes is all you need. What you're looking for is for the dough to come together and not be as sticky, and that's it. You don't need to over knead it or anything. And because it is on the wet side, I'm gonna sprinkle on another 1/4 cup of the flour on top, okay? Then just press down and bring it back. Now we've done this when we made the homemade bread, and we've also done this when we've made homemade biscuits. So if you watched any of the other videos, you should be pretty familiar with this technique, and it's super easy to do. So then just push down, bring back, and it's already becoming a lot less sticky, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna need to add any more flour. So that means I ended up with 4.5 cups of flour. And that will definitely vary due to a lot of factors, really. So just have some extra available for you. I'm just kind of pushing it down and just seeing it's definitely not sticky anymore. I want to make sure that all this loose flour is incorporated into the dough. Now, if for some reason you think you added too much flour and you just thought it was just a little on the drier side, you could add a little bit more buttermilk or regular milk, or even some sour cream would work to get a little more moisture, but I think we're good here. Irish soda bread is something that my mom always made. In fact, this is her recipe. I've just adapted it a little bit. And of course, we're gonna use the Ninja Foodi, which my mom has never had. She wasn't as lucky to have one of these when I was growing up. And so she always made it, of course, in the oven. But it turns out beautiful in the Ninja Foodi. So that's what we're gonna do. And every time like St. Patrick's Day rolls around, I always think, oh, I'm gonna make soda bread. And I pretty much do almost every year make it. And I say, oh, it's so easy. Why don't I make it more often? I don't know, because it really is easy and it's so good. I mean, it's great to serve with your corned beef and cabbage, and it's also perfect for breakfast. It's like a raisin bread with a little oomph to it. It's really good. All right, so this is looking pretty good. Now it is a dense and it is a thick dough, but it is no longer sticky. So now I'm just gonna sort of form it into our little shape that we want. The baking soda and the baking powder is what's gonna allow this bread to rise. You do wanna bake it as soon as you get it formed out, or else the baking soda will start to work with the wet ingredients. You'll end up with a bread that doesn't really rise in the oven. So what I'm doing now is just sort of pressing it down. So I want it to be uniform so that it cooks evenly. And I want it to be about the size of the bottom of the inner pot of the Ninja Foodi. Now, I have tried this recipe. I've made it at least 5 times in the Ninja Foodi, and I've tried all kinds of different configurations. Originally, I wanted it to be in a 7-inch springform pan because that would keep the sides, it would be nice and tall, and it would just look so great on your dinner table. However, it didn't cook in the center, and I couldn't turn the heat up anymore or it would overcook on the outside. So then I, played around with a couple of other things like using the basket and putting a little piece of parchment, and it just didn't work out as well as it did when I just threw it in the bottom of the Ninja Foodi. So that's what I recommend, and that's what we're gonna do. All right, well that looks good on both sides. It looks good. So that's what your dough is gonna look like when it's done. You don't really see very much flour. That's all been incorporated. You can see those raisins poking through. One quick thing about the raisins, you can certainly use the regular kind, but my mom said that using the golden raisins just seems to be they're a little more tender, and she thought it worked better in the bread. And so, you know, I always do what my mom tells me, so I use golden raisins. All right, that feels really good. So let's get it in the Ninja Foodi. So what I'm gonna do is put in about a tablespoon of butter in the bottom. This just helps prevent it from sticking, although I don't think this bread is gonna stick because it's really not that sticky anymore, but just in case. So we're gonna just throw that in, kind of let it melt around. Should probably use this because you don't wanna use any metal in the Ninja Foodi or you will potentially scrape the bottom. And just kind of move it around. Now the Ninja Foodi, the bottom of the pan is convex, so the butter tends to want to go to the side, so you kind of want to spread it around in the middle. The other thing we need to do to the bread is to make a design in the top. So we're either you can do an X, you could do lines. Traditionally though, it's usually with Irish soda bread it's an X. So do an X there, and I'm going about 1/2 inch in. Now they used to say that this was the way to put an X in to ward off the devils. Now, I don't know about that, but I do think it helps the way it will rise in the oven and also to cook that inside because this is a very dense bread. All right, so let's just drop it in there. That looks perfect. Get the cover back down, and now we're gonna take the temp to 330. I know that's an odd temperature, but 315 and 325 wasn't hot enough. And we're gonna go for 40 minutes. And that's it. So let it cook in there for 40 minutes, and then we will test it, see how well it's done in the center, and we'll flip it over and let it sit in there for 20 more minutes with the oven off, with the Ninja Foodi turned off. All right, so our Irish soda bread has been baking for 40 minutes in the Ninja Foodi, and it has gone through the few seconds of cool down, and now we can open up the lid, and oh, it looks so good. The smells are just amazing. I mean, it really smells like a cinnamon raisin bread, and I love this bread. It's one of my favorites. So now what I'm gonna do is just take it, oh, it is hot, so be careful, and flip it over. Now, I like the way the bottom looks. The one thing that happened a couple of the times that I made this in the Ninja Foodi is the bottom wasn't quite as brown as I'd like, and so that's why I have started to flip it over, and then we'll close this lid and let it go for 20 more minutes with no heat. We won't turn the Ninja Foodi back on, but I'm gonna use my little cake tester here to just sort of insert and see if I'm getting anything gummy out, you know, any of like raw dough, and I'm not, so that is great. So just close the lid and let it be for 20 minutes. Then we'll take it out and we'll put it on a cooling rack, and yeah, you guessed it, we'll let it cool. All right, so it's been 20 minutes with the Ninja Foodi off, and we let our Irish soda bread just sit in there just to finish cooking that inside. Because remember, I've said this is a pretty dense bread. Now we're gonna pull it out, take a look at it. Oh, this is a super clean glove here. And I'm just gonna use this little nifty thing to reach down and get it. Oh, it looks so good. Oh, I love the brown, crunchy crust of this bread. It's so yummy. All right, now we just let it cool. So we're gonna do that probably for about an hour or so, and then we'll cut into it and give it a taste. So it is finished cooling. It's been cooling for a couple of hours now, and it is good to cut into. The reason why you want to let it cool is because there is residual heat inside that continues to bake the bread, and you want that to happen because, again, this is a dense bread. I hope you can hear that. It's a nice hard crust, which I happen to love. And you can see all these wonderful raisins. Now, they don't look like they're golden raisins anymore, do they? No, because they've been cooked. Maybe that's why Mom uses the golden raisins, because I think she did tell me something about that. If you use the regular raisins, they just dry up too much. That could be the reason. So anyway, if you have golden raisins, I'd give them a try in this. All right, let's take a little cut here. Oh, wow. Looks good. You can see inside the bread there's some raisins there, and they are still golden in color, so they didn't get cooked. So I think we discovered the secret why Mom uses golden raisins. All right, I'm gonna cut this in half here. Put a little butter on it. Now, ordinarily, I recommend toasting this. I mean, it is wonderful bread to eat for breakfast. Like, just toast it up. It's like a cinnamon raisin bread. It's really, really good. With just a hint of savory, which I happen to like. And that's those caraway seeds. All right, let's give it a taste here. Absolutely perfect. The outside is crunchy, but the inside is soft. I love this bread. You know, instead of butter, you can actually even jazz this bread up more with a secret that my mom taught me. She used 1/2 stick of butter and 5 ounces of, she used vanilla yogurt, but I tried it with Greek yogurt that I made, homemade in the Ninja Foodi. Mix that together. If you want to make it green for St. Patrick's Day, throw in a few drops of food coloring, mix it up. It is like this tangy butter spread that pairs so well with the Irish soda bread. Give that a try.